Graduation is only a few months away, and I can tell you, your senior class has very mixed feelings about this. We're both excited and happy and scared about university. We're already reminiscing the old memories and the last times. But some of us are thinking about the regrets. There are a few things Pranjal and I wish we had done, and some things we wish we had done sooner. To give you all a head start about utilizing the opportunities presented to you now and not having any regrets, here are 6 insider tips on things to do before turning your tassel.
So first, be bored. Yes. How many times in a day do we just take time to think? And no, I'm not referring about thinking about the next school assignment or the next time you're going to hang out with your friends. I allude to thinking by yourself. In recent times, the whole of a human life is spent on doing better and being the best. We're so absorbed in this competition that we're never bored. And yes, bored. One of my favorite philosophers, Mortimer J. Adler, had said, you have to allow a certain amount of time in which you're doing nothing in order for things to occur to you, to let your mind think. What he meant was that we must be bored to allow our minds to imagine, to ponder, and most importantly, to reflect. Reflection is an important aspect of our lives, but we fail to give it enough credit. And it is this important tool that allows us to find our strengths, our weaknesses, and improve upon them. But today, I ask all of you to reflect on something specific. Your interests, your future plans. Yep, just said that word, future. I know you've always been told that you have plenty of time, but there's no better time than the present. Because it is now that you seek your path, but you have to first locate it before you start on it. I've always been fascinated with geology, and I've always wanted to become a geologist. Well, as fascinated as you can get as an 8th grader learning about rocks. But up until the beginning of this year, I was set on pursuing this career, telling everyone I wanted to study geology when I go to university. But then we had the career day, and I've been so excited to meet with an actual geologist, a person who has my ideal future job. Although after the presentation, I was a little lost. I didn't know what to make of this career anymore. That day, I just went home and started to think, reflect on my interests, and then came to a conclusion that this wasn't for me. But now, I was undecided. I didn't have a direction, so I found one again. Because you can't achieve a goal if you don't know what the goal is. Now, suppose if I hadn't reflected, then maybe right now, I'd be working towards a goal that I even would be passionate about. For freshmen and sophomores, figure out the disciplines you're interested in. Maybe you like the sciences, the arts, or perhaps the social sciences. And once you've figured that out, steer towards that in the IB. For juniors and my fellow seniors, figure out where you want to go in life. And no, you don't have to choose a career just yet. But you should still plan, weigh your options, and uncover your path, and most importantly, reflect.
Number 2, be gritty. How many times have we heard the term hardworking? In the context of work, sports, studies, be hardworking, put an effort in, are phrases we hear all the time. So the advice I want to give you today is similar, but more multifaceted. Before graduation, I want all of you to learn to be gritty. But what really is grit? Now, grit has the element of hard work in it, but it combines ideas of perseverance and passion towards long-term goals. Angela Lee, a psychologist, carried out a study in which she aimed to find the most successful individuals and see what made them successful. In several contexts, starting from schools to offices to even the military, one characteristic stood out as a significant predictor of success. You guessed it, it was grit. She found that grit does not need talent, nor does it need intelligence. Interestingly enough, she found that grit is either completely unrelated or even inversely related to measures of talent. Now, I found this true to be in my case too. Things I consider to be my successes have very little to do with my talent or my personality even, but has everything to do with how hard I've worked and how passionate I've been toward my goals. I can relate my successes to my grit as a direct reflection. My grit can be related to my grades, to my relationships, and to my extracurriculars. So that's my advice to you. It doesn't matter what you choose to be gritty about. It matters that whatever it is, it should be something you hope to achieve in the long run and something you have perseverance and passion towards. Because grit is the stubbornness to follow through your goals till all your plans become your reality. Because if your stubbornness and passion is backed with grit, if you are truly hardworking in these years of school, chances are you will be successful in whatever you decide to do in future.
Third, make friends you can bet on. And be a friend people can bet on. We all have friends, right? Yes, I do too. And we can often characterize our friends into specific roles. For example, the motherly one, the wild one, the funny one, or, the smart one. But ask yourself one thing. Do you have friends that you can bet on? Friends that challenge you. Friends that make you broaden your intellectual capacity. Now, you may already have these friends. Perhaps they just need to be identified. Or maybe you have to search for them. Either way, these are the friends that will anchor you when you're stranded. And these are the friends that will make you work harder. And these are the friends that bring forth opportunities. All you need is that one friend that opposes your ideas. And I didn't realize the importance of this until I had one friend. She left this year 2 years ago. She left the school 2 years ago. But she left me with the realization that those who oppose you, those who question you, are the ones that amplify your cognitive thinking. Before graduating high school, before going out in the world, find a friend that influences you. Find a friend that contradicts you. And specifically find a friend that you can bet on. But that's not it. Because finding a friend isn't enough. Because you can always be better by being this friend for someone else. By being the friend that they can bet on.
The next point, do it for you. My advice today may be very generic, and that's because all our plans are different. We have different goals, dreams, and ambitions. However, I still have a word of advice that may stand true for us all. Whatever your long-term goals may be, make sure they're for yourself. Nothing will give you more satisfaction or happiness than in meeting your own self-set standard. It is important to realize that the world isn't here to constantly reassure you or pat you on the back for a job well done. But it also isn't here to criticize you or reprimand you for every failure. You are your own judge, you are your own lawyer, you are your own witness. So make sure whatever verdict comes out is in your best interest. When I first came to AISD, I was warned about the pressure IB entails. But still, when it came to signing up for clubs, I signed up to everything I thought would interest me. And because I was doing it all for myself, I was motivated through it all. 1.5 years later, here I am, still relatively new, but assuming leadership roles in almost all my groups. I worked as hard in keeping up my grades as I did in South Asian Club and Friends for the Poor. And because I was doing these things to meet and exceed my own self-set standard, I was successful. And setting these standards on your own terms is what helps you balance it all and be the perfect student, or at least try to be. To summarize, whatever you do, make sure you're doing it for you.
Good. Do everything. Try something new. This is never going to be easier than in high school. Let's face it, the decision we make now don't cause a huge impact on our lives. Yes, they shape us into who we will be in the future, but we don't have to worry about paying taxes or getting up and going to a job every day. You may not believe this to be true, but you guys have time. Time to take risks and time to try something new. Take advantage of the opportunities that are presented to you. We attend an American International School where everyone is encouraged to be a risk taker. And we have opportunities every day to achieve just that. Service learning, sides of sports, but it doesn't have to end there. There are many of us that find interest in one of these clubs. But for those of us who don't, you don't have to choose the conventional sports or conventional clubs. Find something that interests you and make it happen. You can start something, a club or a group. Remember, there's only one entity that limits you. It's you. I speak to freshmen directly when I say this. IB, you guys haven't entered it just yet. So this is your time. There's no restraint to the number of things you can try out. So take use of everything and deductively narrow your interests as you move forward. There is unleashed knowledge in all experiences, so do everything. This is an ideology I live by. Because from one thing you may gain, because being part of everything, because from one thing you may gain leadership skills, but from another it could be something as mundane as gaining a skill of commitment. But in the end, all experiences, good or bad, change you for better. So try everything, and yes, everything.
Our final point, do an internship. I promise you, you won't regret it. It doesn't matter if, it doesn't have to be particularly long, and if you truly want to learn something, don't expect to be monetarily compensated for it. Do it for the experience and to see where your passion lies. Internships allow you to immerse yourself in the world you plan to go into in future. It allows you to dip your toes into a profession you plan to delve into later on. And now how scary would that be? Committing to studying a particular major, finishing university, sitting through numerous job interviews, only to figure out you hate it? But doing an internship during summer, that isn't commitment, that's an opportunity. So that's my advice. Get ahead of the game and get an internship. I remember Ms. Herrera telling me how much universities love it when you show work experience in your applications. Before, when I realized that for summer, I'd be spending a considerable amount of time in Dhaka, I decided to apply for an internship, and yes, luckily I got it. Now, I always knew I wanted to study accounting, but it wasn't until I was placed in the accounts and finance department of an agrochemical company that I realized just how much I wanted it. It was an eye-opening experience, something you simply can't learn in a classroom. Accounting isn't even a subject you're usually introduced to before university. Yet, by the end of my internship, I was resolved that this is where my knack lies. Numbers, organization, analysis, this was my calling. It allowed me to be confident in the program I want to study in university and gain a head start. It's like putting on binoculars to familiarize yourself with the horizon. Putting the poetry aside, do an internship because there's so much to learn and very little, if anything, to lose. Thank you.
So today we discussed 6 things. You should do before completing one of your most important chapters in your life. But remember, don't limit yourself to these things, because there's other experiences that we haven't encountered, and clubs we haven't even joined, and people we haven't met. I'd like to conclude by saying one last thing. Life has no limitations, except for the ones you make. So live a life without any. Thank you.